Okay, I'm making a quick video for the record. On the 3rd of June, 2020, at around 1 p.m. the afternoon, the electricity went off for 3 hours. Well, came back on around 4 o'clock. Went off at 1 p.m., came back on at 4 p.m. Now, I'm making this video because I need to make this point for record. Prior to the electricity going off for 3 hours, I was receiving a lot of radiation, burn, from the whatever the currents that are going in through the wires that they've planted in the floors in this room, which is on the second floor, and throughout all of the rooms on the second floor. They went in and switched out. They switched out all of my Romex wiring. All of my Romex wiring, which was originally built in the house in the 1980s, has been switched out over time by the criminal government operative gang stalkers. They didn't do it all at one time. A lot of people say, how are they going to switch out your wire at one time? If you know anything about electrical wiring, if you got a problem, like an electrical problem in your house, and they need to come in and they need to replace a section of the wiring, they could do that in 30, 45 minutes. You do a section of it at a time. Over time, it took them, I would estimate, based on what I saw happening, it took over a year, because they didn't do it all at one time. What they did was they tended to modify the wiring for the rooms that I mostly occupied. Okay, but they started with the wiring coming in from the breaker box. But let's get back to why I'm making this point for record. So, in the time that the electricity was off, so were all these harmful frequencies that was coming in through the floor. Now, they cut into these floors really badly. Totally destroyed these floors by cutting into them. And where they cut into the floors, you will directly underneath the areas that they've opened up are the ceiling appliances for the first floor, such as the ceiling fan, the ceiling light canisters, the bathroom fans, all of these electrical, we got heating lamps in the ceiling in this house, no doubt. So they hit those as well as light switches, all of that, they hit it. That's why they opened up the floor, because they needed to make connections to those appliances using the switched out, and they replaced it with Cirtex wiring, CIRTEX wiring, and a cable wiring. This house was built with proprietary brand Romex. How do I know? Because I inspected it. I had the house inspected. I was very familiar with my wiring because I was thinking about having some things done. I was often going into where the crawl spaces, looking at how I could expand the home, because I got lots of room in the crawl space, and I would always look out for the wiring because I didn't want to be shocked. So I was very familiar with my wiring. Very familiar. My Romex is gone. I got all of this new wiring. I haven't rewired my house, but I have modern wiring in my crawl space. And what this wiring does is it allows for these modern frequencies that are coming in here assaulting me. The Romex wouldn't have tolerated it. It would have started a fire. So they switched it out with this new wiring. And this new wiring not only allows for frequency, it allows for networking. This wiring does two things. This is some special wiring. It allows for networking, and it allows for electrical conduction. If you've ever opened up, like this is a cable, this is an Ethernet cable or wiring. If you open this up, you'd be surprised the number of little wires that are in here. This is not just one wire. This thing may have as many as 7 separate tiny wires. I've opened up a cable before, an Ethernet adapter, and looked at the wiring in it. It had like 7 separate different wires, each for reserved for a specific purpose. So that's what they've done here. They got wiring that is doing dual purpose. It's doing electrical, but it's also a conduit for data. And so they're surveillancing my entire home with this Cirtex wiring that they put in here. Now let me get back to again why I'm making this video. Well, let me get back to saying where on the 3rd, the electricity went out and all their equipment wasn't working. I can tell because I'm burned. This stuff has burned my legs because I walk on the floor. This frequency, it's 5G. It's like 5G. I've never, ever have walked on the floor and got my legs burned, radiation burns from walking on the floor. Yes, I have radiation burns from walking on the floor. And so I can feel them too. I can feel the frequency. First it does this. It itches. All of a sudden, my leg, my ankle, and it's below the knee. It's below the knee. Like, let's see if I can show you. Like, can you see? You see this dark space? This is it. This all. I didn't have no dark spaces. You see this? This is burn. All this is burn. From walking on the floor, and the radiation coming through, and it itch, okay, and then it becomes, you scratch it, then it becomes a prickly type of pain, a prickly type of discomfort. And the more you walk on the floor, the worse it gets. So I had to keep my feet elevated, walk and then elevate my feet. And guess what? They would turn this stuff on and off. when they want to surveillance me because of something that I'm using or doing on the computer, then the frequency would come in. They would pull in whatever they're using to surveillance me, and that surveillance frequency would burn my legs. Literally burn in not when I say legs, please remember I'm talking about this area from here on down. Okay, so that would be ankle. I guess that would be ankle, and on top of my foot and behind in the back, like right back here. So yes, that's very real. And so when they turned the electricity off on the 3rd, I didn't feel the frequency on the from the point that they turned it off on the 3rd, the 4th, and today is the 5th. That frequency started coming in today and I wrote it down. What time did it come in? Let me go look and see real fast. Just a minute. That frequency 620. What time was 2020? Okay. 8:20. That frequency came in at 8:20 tonight. It started back up around 8:20 tonight. And so it's 9:23 right now. And I noticed that, and I was thinking that maybe somebody realized what they were doing and turned off. Knock them out of commission. Knock these criminals out of commission. I was hoping that it would never come back on. But at 2020, my dresser started to vibrate. That is an indication that they're using the frequencies. I started to feel the little burn sensitivity, EMF sensitivity. When I walked past certain electrical outlets, when I hold my mouse, I started to feel it. And then the updates. See, this is all about the network. This frequency is connected to what they can do on the computer too. Also, I started having problems with Windows updates. Once that frequency came back, couldn't start my computer without the updates. Before, I wasn't having a problem. In that little bit of day and a half where I had no frequency, everything was normal. My life was normal. Frequency come back and all hell breaks out. Can't use my computer, can't turn my computer on without being interrupted. Can't walk around the house without feeling burned. My furniture is starting to rattle. So this has made the confirmation that Centerpointe energy is connected to this. Again, each time I have a problem with anything coming through the public utilities to target me, Centerpointe energy is always tied into it. From 2014, so I can say up to today, I have repeatedly had to call Centerpointe energy due to high electromagnetic radiation levels that were being, my house was bathed in it, coming from the electrical wires that are cables, utility public cables that surround my house. Okay, my house, let me tell you how my cables are. Okay, I have, okay, let's say I'm my house. I have cables running along this side of the house. I have electrical cables running this side of the house, and I have electrical cables running behind the house. My house is surrounded. The only place I do not have electrical or internet cables is in the front of the house. Otherwise, I have electrical cables everywhere. Every side, 3 sides of this house is surrounded by electrical cables and internet or telecom. Let's put it as telecom cables. And for a while, I was calling Centerpointe like every night, because I was being assaulted with high EMF. And wait a minute, this EMF was so high that it was hurting me. It wasn't like, oh, I'm just reading EMF levels and I don't want them this high. No, it wasn't that way. I was being tortured by them. Between feeling like I was being fried, my skin was being fried, a headache. Oh my God. What were some of the symptoms? Like I was just in a microwave oven. It was very pain. It was painful. It was like being fried. Fried. I even had their regional, what do you call it? People to come out and take readings. It was that bad. They had to come out and take readings. And they claimed they couldn't pick up anything. Of course. Oh, ain't nothing going on here. We don't see anything. It's normal. This is normal. Look, these are normal levels. But they didn't jive with my levels. You know how that goes. So, for the record, I needed to put this out to say that at 2020, on today is the 5th, these electrical currents, or these, what do you call it, frequencies that they're using to surveillance my computer and to do all sorts of, one thing also, let me do this. I want you to listen to this. I want you to listen to what this, let's see, where is it? Okay, there we go. Listen to this. You hear that? Now I'm going to pull it out. This is what happens when I connect my computer to a speaker. You hear that? Now I checked the wire to make sure that there aren't the integrity of the cord is good. I'm going to unplug it. You hear this? Listen to that. Listen to that. So they've taken my speaker. They got my speaker. They got the electricity going in the speaker. See that? All of this. Now you know this shouldn't be happening. And it didn't always be, it wasn't always like this until they came in and jacked up the speaker, jacked up my computer, and now what I do is I hear all of this artifact, all of this noise. From all of the electrical signals coming into the computer, into the speaker. I hear all the noise. It was not like this before. None of the frequencies are compatible with my speaker, obviously, at a certain amplitude. So I'm going to turn this down now. That should not be. That should not be, but that's that. Because they've taken over my electricity. My electricity does no longer belong to me. It doesn't belong to me. My telecom system is not mine. I was using Comcast Xfinity. They've taken that over. Put some sort of DSL connection, network connection in this house. Because my computer is totally theirs and under their control. Now I do have a AT&T, and I'm thinking they either use this AT&T, but I done screamed about that so much. I have an AT&T, you can't built it with the house, right? A DSL connection that was built with the house. So either they have gotten a hold of that or they've built another one. But there's definitely a DSL connection. I also have a pedestal, an AT&T pedestal that's on my property, sitting right outside my garage. Okay? So that makes it very convenient. I mean, you know, these pedestals are everywhere in the U.S., but you know, we know how they go. Every house gets a pedestal, but it's so convenient for them. And how they just went in my interstitial spaces in the house. In order to do that, they had to open up the floors, cut into the floors. My floors did not have cut. My floors were not cut open like they are now. These floors, because they're structural, they needed to stay in one piece as a part of structure. Now my house is it's basically the walls are cracking because the floors are not structurally sound, because they've cut into the floors that were part of the structure of the house. And so the house is able to shift. And they've gouged out parts of the floors trying to, I guess, they put stuff in, didn't want it there, didn't want to move stuff. So they brand, I call it branding the floor. They burn the floor, try to make it look like wood knots. And we're talking about plank, subfloor, plank, oak, wood subfloor. They've done a lot of damage to this house. Close to $82,000, $100,000 worth of damage to this house. These floors are so messed up. The walls are so much up. The HVAC, oh, they've torn that completely down. The roof, we just had to rebuild the roof line in 2018. They tearing that up. It ain't even been 2 years and they tearing it up again. They're coming in, they accessing the house, opening up the roof line and coming in that way, and they tearing the roof again, the roof line apart. I'm putting this out here for the record. This is crazy. So I just wanted to mention that as of 2020, on June the 5th, the frequencies are back. The tinnitus, I do have to say this. When the frequencies went off on the 3rd, the tinnitus did not go away. So the tinnitus is not connected to the electrical junk, unless it's still pumping in. Now there's a possibility that the frequencies are still coming in, but not on my paid subscriber conduit, so that they can do what they do that is causing the tinnitus, because the tinnitus never went away. That stayed. So, okay, my nose is itching. That's another thing. My nose itches a lot. With this, and because these frequencies, these implants are in my sinuses. My sinuses pop a lot. Pop. The minute I wake up, pop, pop. The minute I have a bit of consciousness, my sinuses pop, pop. They pop open. Every freaking day. Pop, pop. The minute I have consciousness. And that's them turning on their stuff, and the gases in my sinuses are engaging with the frequencies and causing them to my sinuses to pop. So I just want to put this out here today to say this for the record, that the frequencies went away for a minute, and now they're back. They done figured out. And another thing, I noticed that the neighbors, check this out, the ones that I suspect, they have signals that they use turning on their garage lights during the day, keeping their garage lights on, just burning them as a signal to say whatever they express with them. Well, let me tell you this. The entire time my electricity was off, everything was normal with these garage lights around here. And then when the electricity came on, and it was like they realized, oh, we don't have a signal, we can't surveillance her. They started turning on their little garage lights. Their garage lights stayed on. They just would not go off. They literally stayed on. And I noticed they do a lot of signaling with their garage lights and their windows. It's how they situate their blinds, how they move their trash cans around, porch lights on. Because I got gang stalking perps all around me. And the ones that like to play musical lights are the ones that are the gang stalkers. And so they were letting put out the signal. We can't pick her up. We can't pick her up. We can't pick her up. The monster. They doing dead drops around here using kids. That's another video altogether. Pretending like they got some kind of egg kind. It's not Easter. It's June. Check this out. June 5th. But they doing hunts around here. Egg hunts. You know, the dead drops. Using children. Because they had some other dead drop going on. I discovered and made a video, made some comments about it on Twitter, and they immediately disbanded it, got rid of it. It was and again they were using children again. They like to use children as their damn, that's pretty bad. Pedophiles. Anyway, I'm not gonna that's another conversation altogether, but anyway. So I'm just here to kind of just talk about this electrical problem that I have. And all you perps that like to come to my page, my channel, and make those stupid comments, don't make your comments. Just keep moving. Don't even look at my video. Well, if you got this far, you've looked at it, okay? But if you also have gotten this far, I'm telling you, don't make no comments on my page. None whatsoever, because I'm going to eliminate your comment, hide your comment, or do whatever it is I can do to eliminate it. Okay? Because I don't want to hear it. I don't want to see it. Okay, so I'm going to close this up. This is all I needed to do was to make this comment and for record. Okay, if you watched it, okay, then you know what's going on. Everyone, stay safe out here. Target individuals are real. Say my name. I am an African American woman in the United States that is going through criminal torture by criminal government operatives using stranger than fiction technology. And it's stranger than fiction only because the public is not aware of it. Not because it's hidden. It's just that the public has this see no evil, speak no evil, hear no evil mentality. They haven't eaten any of this technology. It's all they talk about it all the time, all over the internet. But the public seems to not know anything about the technology. So when you tell them this stuff is happening, they like, it can't be happening. What you mean it can't be happening? Government is telling you they got the technology. They're not hiding anything. It's you, the public, who chooses not to know what's going on and to remain